restroom, whatever. Just let me know. I can unlock the doors and let you out. It's a one-way trip, though. There's nobody to let you back in. So it does make it a little, make sure that you definitely don't want to stay in the building. Do a quick head count and we'll get started. 2, 4, 6, 17. Everybody's here. All right, so welcome to the BirdCage Theater's nightly guided ghost tour. My name is Trish. I'll be your hostess tonight. We're going to walk through the building room by room. I'll be telling you history and paranormal stories as we go. There is no test at the end, however. You don't have to take notes, so feel free to walk around and get some pictures. Make sure that you get all the pictures that you want as we're going through the building. At the end of the night, when the lights come back on, there won't be any time for more photos. So get them on the way in, and I do recommend the next picture you take. You have this little sign, we're going to set right here on the bar. That email address at the bottom is where you can send pictures that you might get that have orbs or apparitions in them. Our manager goes through those pictures a couple of times a week. We get a lot of them. He looks to see if there was something nearby that could have been causing a shadow or a reflection on your image. If there is not, he'll let you know you captured something. Can't guarantee you'll see any ghosts, though. We don't have me on the payroll. So unlike me, they don't have to show up. Nothing in the building is rigged up to make it seem like we have ghosts. And as much as I wish I could, I can't make them do tricks for you. But there are things that you can do that will make the spirits more likely to join us. Most important thing is to keep an open mind. If you don't believe in ghosts, they could be tap dancing on the table right in front of you and you still wouldn't see them. More than likely, they wouldn't bother to tap dance for you. Second thing is just have fun. In the 1880s, the BirdCage was the place that people went to have a good time, meet some new people, maybe see a show. So the more fun that we have, the more likely the spirits will be to want to join us. So walk around, look at things, ask questions, take pictures, laugh at my jokes, and we'll be off to a really good start. At the end of the night, if you enjoyed the tour, please let me know. Tips are always appreciated, but don't feel obligated. I'm going to start the tour with the founder of our town. That is this gentleman right up here, Mr. Ed Schiflin. Ed is the one with the beard, not the one with the horns. That's Hamburger, but don't call the kitties. Ed was born in Pennsylvania in 1847. His family moved to Oregon when he was 10 years old, and Ed always dreamed about being a prospector. He wanted to be a prospector so badly, he ran away from home when he was 12 so that he could go prospecting. A kindly neighbor took him back to his folks, but Ed never gave up on his dream. In 1877, Ed came here to Arizona to work at Camp Hutchinson as an Indian scout. He spent his days searching for Apache strongholds. He spent his free time looking for rocks. Not just any rocks. Ed had a hunch that there was gold or silver in the area. He set out to prove that hunch. The other soldiers found out what he was doing, and they said, Ed, the only thing you're going to find out in the desert is your own tombstone. Well, in 1878, Ed's hunch paid off. He found silver. He found a whole lot of it. In fact, he named his mining claim Tombstone. It is what they told him to find, after all. Word spread that we had silver in the area. The town quickly was built. In 1879, the town was named Tombstone after Ed's first mining claim. Those of us who live here are forever grateful for that because this area was previously called Goose Flats. I remember go see a movie called Goose Flats, even if it starred Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. In 1880, Marshal Fred White was shot right here on this very site. Now the building wasn't here yet. This was still a vacant land. There was an alleyway around the corner of what is now our building where there were some cowboys shooting their guns off into the air. Marshal White successfully disarmed several of those cowboys. However, when it came time to disarm Curly Bill Brocious, Curly Bill handed Marshal White the gun barrel first. Marshal White grabbed the gun, pulled it away from Curly Bill, then he went off shooting him in the groin. White Earp witnessed this, but he didn't realize that Curly Bill had dropped the gun when it went off. So White Earp pistol whipped Curly Bill until he was unconscious. Then he arrested him. Before he died, though, Marshall White said that it was an accident. Curly Bill had been so drunk he probably didn't even realize that his finger was still on the trigger. The gun was shown to have only been half cocked when it went off. I think Marshall White should have known better than to pull on a gun that was pointed at him. White at least agreed with the first two things, and so Curly Bill was not charged in Marshall White's death. But Curly Bill was holding a grudge against Wyatt Earp for pistol whipping him when he wasn't armed. That added some fuel to the feud between Hearse and the Cowboys. In 1881, the BirdCage Theater was built, and it was built as a theater, but it was also a saloon, a gambling hall, and a house of ill repute, all under the same roof. We have 14 BirdCage cribs upstairs, 7 on each side of that little bridge we call the catwalk. Our ladies would be up on that bridge. They'd catch the eye of a gentleman on the floor. For $25, they'd take them up that narrow staircase across the room to be entertained. But we were only open 8.5 years, with those top few steps, they've been worn down to the thickness of a silver dollar by all that traffic. That was the busiest staircase in town. A gentleman looking for a lady's companionship did not give her $25 in cash. She would come up to the bar, give the bartender that $25, and in exchange you would receive a brothel token like this. This is a replica of the ones that were used here in the 1880s. That token would be traded to the lady of his choice for however much time and whatever services he could negotiate for that $25 fee. At the end of their shifts, the ladies came back down the stairs. They traded those tokens into the bar. For every token they had, they received $5. Now I know 5 out of 25 is a bad deal, but other establishments only paid their ladies 50 cents to $1 per token. This was one of the higher paying places a woman could work. And our ladies didn't only make their money by selling their bodies. They also sold alcohol and tobacco via this dumbwaiter right here. If a gentleman was enjoying a lady's company upstairs, wanted to enjoy a glass of whiskey and a cigar while he was up there, he'd have to place the order at the dumbwaiter. The bartender would fill the order, put the items on this little tray, and they would use that rope and pulley to hoist it upstairs. A drink that might be $1 at the bar could be 3 or 4 times that up in the cribs, because the ladies here earned a percentage of everything that they sold. The more money they got for the drink, the more money they put in their pocket. A gentleman who didn't want to pay that much could come down those stairs, buy a drink for himself right here at the bar for $1. He'd be drinking it sad and alone, though, because the lady would rent the crib out to the next paying customer. The plate on the back of our dumbwaiters was given to the BirdCage by a couple who got married up on our stage in 2000. That plate sat right there for many years, until one morning the manager came in and found it on the floor right here next to the bar. The plate wasn't broken, the frame wasn't broken. Manager figured the ghost hostess from the previous night was just playing a little trick on him. He asked her about it when she came in, and when she said she didn't do it, they went back and they looked at our video footage. We do have cameras throughout the building. In the video feed, they could see that plate lift up over the things in the front before gently landing on the ground without breaking. They tried to come up with a logical explanation for that. First thought was that maybe we'd had another earthquake. You get them here from time to time. There was a big one in the 1880s, caused the mines to flood and shut them down. Of course, they very quickly realized if the earthquake knocked that plate out of there, it would have hit the floor much harder. All of the little units up here would have been moving as well, but they weren't. One of my co-workers was doing a presentation during the daytime, just talking about the history of the building when a water bottle on a refrigerator like mine hit the floor in that same spot. A guest who was standing out here said she was looking at the bottle when it fell, but she said it didn't just tip over. She says she saw the bottle float straight out before it dropped to the floor. The bar over here is the original cherrywood bar head and bar back. The diamond dust mirrors on the bar back came all the way from Paris, France. This bar was custom made for us in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1881. After it was finished, the railroad wouldn't take it on as freight because they could not insure those very expensive diamond dust mirrors. The BirdCage had to open June 17, 1881 with just a couple of whiskey barrels and boards as a makeshift bar. This one had to be sailed all the way around the Horn of South America to the port of Guaymas, Mexico. It came the rest of the way here to Tombstone by wagon train, was put in place right here where you see it for the grand opening December 26, 1881. This is the only bar in Tombstone that is still the original bar in its original spot in its original building. This is not where the bar was supposed to go, though. When the bar was ordered, the idea was for it to sit under the catwalk. The owner wanted it to look as though the ladies were dancing across the bar back when they crossed that little bridge. When the bar arrived, however, we had a little problem. Size matters in Tombstone. We had a big problem. That bar would not fit under the catwalk. The owner had to nail the third set of doors shut, put it here in the corner instead. Luckily, it just fit between the door frame and the dumbwaiter. So in 139 years, the only bar in, excuse me folks, this one bullet hole right here in the upright of the bar. That happened when a cowboy who was drinking at the bar gave the bartender the wrong amount of money for his drink. He chose to argue about it rather than pay up. The bartender asked the owner, Big Minnie, if she wanted him to fetch the marshal and put the cowboy out, but Big Minnie said no. She didn't need the marshal. She would put that cowboy out herself. So she picked the cowboy up, threw him out onto the boardwalk. He landed on his backside, drew his gun, fired at her, and hit the bar instead. Now, Big Minnie is called that because she was described as being 6 feet tall, 230 pounds of loveliness and pink tights. She was the co-owner here with her husband, Joe Bignon. She worked as one of the performers, a dancer up on our stage. That's why she wore the pink tights. And when the need arose, she was our bouncer as well. A 6 feet tall is tall for a woman, even by today's standards, but in the 1880s, the average height for a lady, all of 5'1". Average height for a man was only 5'7". So Big Minnie towered over the cowboy. She could easily pick them up and throw them out. That bullet hole is one of about 140 that we have throughout this building. We had 16 gunfights in here. 26 people were killed. Most of the bullet holes are in the theater, but we do have a few out here. If you look straight up at the ceiling from this first one right up there between the light fixture and the fan, the hole that's not moving is actually the bullet hole there. It's a 32. We have a 45 ricochet right over here on the show bill frame. Not sure if they were aiming at one of our girls or one of the men upstairs. There is also a 44 caliber slug. I'm coming right at you. Right over here at the green wall, next to the lovely Fatima, our belly dancer. Fatima came to perform here at the BirdCage in 1881, bringing the art of belly dance to the United States. But they didn't call it belly dancing back then. They called it the hoochie coochie. Yep, she brought the hoochie coochie here to the United States. Now, Fatima sent this portrait to us out of San Francisco in 1882 as a thank you for getting her career here started. It's been hanging at the BirdCage ever since. If you look closely at this portrait, you might notice she appears to have 6 toes. And we don't know if she had 6 little piggies or if the artist just miscounted. Perhaps he wasn't very good at painting feet. Fatima, he was, however, really good at showing the appreciation on that guy's face. He really is enjoying the show. Fatima appears to have a second belly button as well, but the bottom one is a bullet hole. There are a total of 6 bullet holes in her canvas. She has a knife slash in her skirt right there below her knees. Now that happened when a cowboy who was drinking at the bar turned and threw his knife at her from across the room. Said she was walking off the canvas toward him. He wanted to keep her in her place. I don't know what he was drinking that night. I'm not sure how many he'd had, so I really can't answer that. But we do get reports from time to time from our guests who have taken photos of that portrait, only to discover a blank canvas with a white disc out in front of it in their photograph. So maybe that's what he saw that night. Over in the corner under the stairwell, that is our Polyphone. Now, the Polyphone was a precursor to the modern jukebox. Each disc plays one song. There are 200 of those discs. Everything from the polka to the wedding march. We even have some Christmas music. The disc in there is Silent Night because the BirdCage closed its doors on Christmas Eve, 1889. One morning the owner came in and there was a very foul odor in the building. It smelled like something that died in here. He tracked the smell down to the Polyphone and figured it must be a mouse or a rat that got caught up in there and died. Took it all apart to clean it out, only to discover there wasn't anything dead inside. The smell remained for an hour or so before it wafted out the door. Another time, the polyphone started to play all by itself. It couldn't get it to stop as coins fell from the ceiling above. We gathered the coins up, locked them in a drawer, and they disappeared. More recently, the birdcage had to close last year because of COVID. And we got shut down in March, came back the first week in May to clean and get ready to reopen. We're all in here cleaning when the polyphone started playing once again by itself. I think that the spirits here were just saying thank you for coming back. I'm pretty sure they felt like we'd abandoned them. All right, folks, any questions? All right, so the birdcage was open around the clock from June of 1881 until December of 1889. When you walked in those front doors, you could see all the way to the back to the hand-painted stage and curtain. In 1889, the silver mine shut down. Population here in Tombstone plummeted, and the birdcage had to close. The owners here thought they'd be coming back when the mines reopened, so they just left everything inside when they closed the doors. But nobody reopened the mines. The building sat here, sealed up for 45 years until 1934, when the family that still owns the building bought it. They discovered everything inside, reopened as a historical attraction. As when they put in the partition wall, separating the saloon from the rest of the building, these light fixtures here were converted as well. Otherwise, the building remains as original as possible. We are standing on the very same floor as Doc Holliday, Johnny Ringo, Fernando Brochus, and all the years walked on in the 1880s. All right, folks, before we move along to the next room, take a look up and look at those show bills hanging on either side here. Those show bills are from the last act performed here back in 1889. They've been hanging here since then. This was a gymnast act known as the Human Fly. I'll tell you more about those folks in the next room. Somebody wants to lead the way. It's going to be right through that open door over here. So this is the gambling hall and theater. Gambling tables sat in the wings under the cribs on both sides of the room, all the way up to the front of the building. As I mentioned, that partition wall wasn't there. The door we just walked through and this little book room were not there either. When there was a show going on up on the stage at the far end of the room, they would pull these little benches out from underneath the tables, line them up here on the floor so that people could sit and see the show. When you look up, you can see the birdcage cribs where our ladies entertain those gentlemen. A little 4x8 cubicles. Hand-painted wallpaper decorates the walls. A love seat up there would fold down to a small bed. The door would slide shut in the back and the curtains would close in the front. Let's finish the rest of that story with your imagination. The front of those cribs are decorated with woodcut prints that were smuggled out of Sweden in 1883. They have been adorning the bird cages ever since. The artist who created them said he had never seen a circus in his life. He got his inspiration for these from the Bible. Now, I haven't been to Sunday school in a really long time, I'll admit, but I don't remember a horse firing a gun with its mouth in the Bible anywhere. I have a feeling this guy might have seen a circus or two. Look over on this side, this lovely lady. Nobody knows who she was, but she stole the heart of many a cowboy in the 1880s with her beauty and innocence. And guests taking photos of her one night, snapped several photographs, but in one of those pictures you could not see this little horseman rider. Instead, there was the face of a cowboy there, his big tall cowboy hat and bushy mustache, blocking out that horse and rider. Over on this display cabinet over here, we have one of our ghost pictures. This is the lady in white. This photograph was taken in 2006 by a gentleman who was part of a paranormal group in the building. He was standing in the poker pit, the room you see below the stage. at the bottom of the staircase down there, looking up the stairs toward his friends when he snapped this picture. Showed it to the owner. The owner says it looks like it's one of our serving girls because it appears to be the figure of a woman with a big basket. These wicker baskets right here on the table are what our serving girls carried. They held 12 bottles of alcohol. The girls went from table to table in here selling drinks. And we always called this apparition Rose because when we saw her, we could smell roses on the air. Usually she's a mist like this, but sometimes you can see her so clearly, you can see the detailing of the lace on her Victorian gown. A gentleman came in one day talking about a woman he saw walking ahead of him on the boardwalk in a Victorian gown. It's not unusual in a town like Tombstone, though. The unusual part was that this woman made a right turn straight through the closed, locked doors of the BirdCage Theater. Said it made a believer out of him. We had a medium come in not too long after that who confirmed that she is one of our serving girls, but her name is not Rose, it is Susanna. Susanna was 13 years old and an orphan when she worked here selling drinks. Susanna told the medium to let us know she really likes the name Rose. If we call her Susie Rose, she'd appreciate it. So that's what we call her now. Well, I didn't see Susie Rose, but I did smell her out in front of our building about a year and a half ago. It was November. There was nobody else out on the street, so I know the scent of roses wasn't someone's perfume, and Rose blooms in April. I'm pretty sure that Susie Rose was just paying me a little visit. Right over here in the corner, we have one of our original gambling tables. This one is in its original spot with all of its original chairs. This is the Faro table. Now, Faro was a card game in the 1880s that was more popular than poker. Fast-paced game, quite easy to learn, but can be difficult to master the strategies. Faro is also known by its nickname. They called it bucking the tiger because a lot of the playing cards had a tiger on the back. And in fact, a lot of establishments that had a Faro table simply had a picture of a tiger on the wall. So people knew they could play Faro there. Doc Holliday dealt Faro at this table to earn a little extra cash when he was in Tombstone. So he'd sit at that back chair there, closest to the saddle, drinking and dealing Faro. Of course, the way Doc drank, the money he made dealing Faro probably only covered his bar tab. Well, Doc was sitting there one day, drinking and dealing Faro like he did when he saw Johnny Ringo walk in. Johnny had a drinking already that day as well. Doc saw Johnny and hollered over, "Hey Johnny, why don't you come buck the tiger? It's the gutsiest game in town." Johnny Ringo responded, "Why don't you grab the other end of my bandana, Doc? It's the deadliest game in town." Doc Holliday wasn't the kind of man who would back down from a challenge, so he got up. The two men grabbed a hold of that bandana and circled each other right here on the floor. The problem was they were so drunk when it came time to shoot at each other, they couldn't get their guns up. Like to say they had a little projectile dysfunction. They shot into the floorboards instead of each other. Their friends separated them. They went back to drinking and gambling as if nothing ever happened. Now I did tell you that size matters in Tombstone. So if you're curious, Johnny's was bigger. He had a .45, Doc had the smaller weapon. When you look up, you can see some more of those 140 bullet holes that we have in the building. You can almost tell where the rows of benches would have sat because we do have rows of bullets up there, but not every hole in the ceiling came from a bullet. We had some aerial acts here at the BirdCage. Lizette, the flying nymph, was one of the first. She had a harness that she wore. It was attached to a wire that went up into a pulley on the ceiling. Her assistant pulled on the other end of that wire, and that allowed her to soar above the audience in a costume that left very little to the imagination. It was quite a popular act here at the BirdCage. The human fly act, those show bills that I pointed out front, those girls were gymnasts. They could do their tricks and flips up on their trapeze. For the grand finale, they dismounted onto the ceiling where they would walk around like flies. And they accomplished that with very strong magnets in their boots. A steel plate up on the ceiling allowed them to stick. The audience had no idea how they did it. Of course, they didn't really care, because when the feet went north, those skirts went south. It was another very popular act here at the BirdCage. The ceiling and floors are not the only place we have bullet holes. We do have a few right in the front of our stage. Those happened when Professor Andres performed here. Professor Andres could catch a bullet in his teeth. At least that's what he said. His assistant fired a gun at him with a blanket, and of course, the bullet that was already in the professor's mouth appeared between his teeth, so it looked as though he caught it. He had the timing down really well. The audience loved it. One drunken cowboy loved it so much, he wanted to see it again. Stood up, yelled, "Hey, Professor, catch this!" Luckily, the cowboy next to him grabbed his arm. Those bullets ended up in the stage instead of ending up in Professor Andres. Otherwise, they're all going off. Yeah. Yeah, I have my own. My Dodge Caravan. All right. Right in front of our stage is our original grand piano. You know, this piano was part of the five-piece band that played here every day between 1881 and 1889. They played music for the singers and dancers, mood music for the plays, and if there was no show going on, we played the can-can for our ladies and the gentlemen. This piano does still play from time to time, but it's never a sonata, not even Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's just a note or two, but it is nice to know that the spirits are trying to entertain us. When you look up, you can see the birdcage cribs where you can see some mannequins in the birdcage cribs here. We've got Johnny, Ringo, Wyatt Earp, Ike Clanton, and his father, Old Man Clanton. When those mannequins first went in, Wyatt and Ike were in the opposite cribs from where they are now. But that caused some problems. Our workers would come in here, they'd discover that Wyatt's hat wasn't on his head anymore. It'd be sitting on this little blackjack table here. Someone would have to run upstairs to put it back on Wyatt's head, sometimes several days in a row. One morning, one of our employees came in, and not only was Wyatt's hat on the table, Wyatt himself was completely turned around and facing the back wall. Those antics continued until a historian came in, told the owner, well, you know, Wyatt never would have been in that crib right there. That crib was favored by the Clantons. Out of respect for the Clanton family, they swapped the mannequins out, put Ike in his rightful place. Wyatt's hat has been staying on his head ever since. The craps table sitting here, this is another one of our original gambling tables. It is not in its original spot, but it's all handmade. One morning, the owner's wife came in. She couldn't get through that door we walked through just a few minutes ago. She had to go around the building, come up the back staircase to get in here. And when she did, she discovered that the table that was sitting here the night before was now over there blocking the door. It took several strong men to pick that table up and put it back. We think that the spirits were just trying to let us know this table used to sit over there in the 1880s. We are very grateful that the spirits have shown us where this table used to sit. We are even more grateful that they leave it right here, though, because we don't have all those strong men around every day. Pick it up and put it back if they move it again. All right, any questions, folks? So I have a question for all of you then. Who has seen the movie Tombstone? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah? Once or twice maybe? If you watch it again, if you watch it for the first time, or if you just go to YouTube, you can search Tombstone movie theater scene. You're going to see the birdcage. They didn't film it here. They filmed it in Mescal, but they recreated it there, and they did a really good job. They even got the woodcut prints hanging in front of the cribs in the movie. However, if you look right here, you will see our original hand-painted stage with this hand-painted curtain. That curtain right there is the one that's been hanging at the birdcage since 1889. That curtain, though, is not the curtain that you see in the movie. In the movie, you're going to see the lovely Fatima, our belly dancer from out front. She is painted on a brightly colored curtain. Now, she is a whole lot prettier than this Tombstone wonderful climate sign, so I can't say I blame them for making that little change. I need to watch the movie again myself. I want to see if they've got all 6 of her toes on there. All right, from here, folks, we are going to head down into, right down here, right down here into the poker room. Now, in the 1880s, when our serving girls ran out of alcohol in those big baskets, they would have to go through this little door, down that narrow staircase to get into the wine cellar downstairs. Lies right below my feet. This little door and those little stairs do not meet modern building and safety codes, however. We are not taking these stairs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up this staircase onto the stage. cross all the way over to the right and down the full-size set of stairs. We are coming back onto the stage for the last part of the tour. So we're not skipping it, we're just skipping it for now. Somebody wants to lead the way? Go ahead and up, over, and down. And we'll come and see about the stuff up on the stage after that. The chair wasn't necessarily in that room. I'm pretty sure it wasn't in that room. It was here in the building though. That was a it looks like an electric hair clipper. They have to crank it. Good. Go ahead, head on down the stairs. Coming back up here just a little bit. Yeah, no, that's what I was talking about. We're not skipping the stage, we're skipping it for now. Okay, we're going around. Alrighty, folks. When I showed you that picture of Susie Rose, this is where she was captured. The gentleman who took the picture was standing right about where you are, right up against that wall. Snapped his photo. She was captured right here on our staircase. So this is the gambling hall and theater. The gambling table here is the site of the West's longest running poker game. That game lasted 8 years, 5 months, 3 days around the clock. Not the same players, obviously. There was a waiting list to get in. It was $1,000 to get your name put on that list. When a player went bust or cashed in their chips, they tipped the chair up like that one there, signaling the runner to go find the next name on the waiting list. In a town the size of Tombstone today, where Allen Street is 3 blocks long, it's not too hard to find somebody. In the 1880s, though, Allen Street was 16 blocks long. It could take a while. The fact that this was a high-stakes game brought in all the high rollers. Adolphus Bush, the founder of Anheuser-Busch. George Hearse, father of William Randolph Hearst. Those two met here 4 times a year to play in this game against Bat Masterson and Diamond Jim Brady. $10 million exchanged hands. The house got to keep 10% of it, $1,880,000. In today's money, that house cut would be worth closer to $30 million. The cards and chips on the table were set up to represent how it looked in the 1880s when the game was still going on. The modern money there is from our guests, either wishing for a little luck or just wanting to give the spirits here a little cash to keep the game going. There are some cigars on the table as well. The spirits appreciate those. You can often smell cigar smoke in here, even though nobody smokes in the building. Oh, at the far end of the room is our wine cellar. Those bottles and barrels in there are leftovers from the 1880s. Had a guest taking pictures in the wine cellar one night. She snapped 2 photos that looked just like what you see. But as she pulled her hand away, her phone took a 3rd picture all by itself. That one captured a blue bottle sitting next to a cowboy hat. There is no cowboy hat in the wine cellar, though. The 3rd door down, the one that doesn't have any cutouts in it, that was the basement's bathroom in the 1880s. That bathtub is up on our stage now. The bathroom is just used for storage. There is some old furniture in there. People like to see for themselves, though, so they take pictures through the peephole. Sometimes after they've taken their photo, their devices will become drained of battery. Other times, people report a voice coming out of there saying, go away or leave me alone. I think whoever's in there is just trying to use the bathroom and thinks that we're being rude for peeping at him. These other two rooms down here are the basement bordello rooms. Now these are much larger than the cribs upstairs. They were $40 as opposed to the $25 that the upstairs girls got. These rooms featured a full-sized bed, a pot-bellied stove, even a little wash basin. They also featured younger, prettier, or shall we say, more talented ladies. We get a lot of orbs and apparitions in these rooms, so feel free to take photo or video. Just hold on to your device. There's no glass in those little windows. People make that mistake and drop them in. If that happens and your phone hits the floor tonight, you won't get back until tomorrow. I don't have the tools to take the doors off. Wyatt Earp's third wife, Josephine Sarah Marcus, worked in this first room for about a year after she came to Tombstone. She came here in 1881 to marry Sheriff John Behan. Took work at the BirdCage. He didn't approve of that. They split up. She met Wyatt Earp. The rest, as they say, is history. Josephine and Wyatt spent 47 years together as husband and wife, right up until his death in 1929. Now, Josephine, she lived until 1944, but her family says she never worked at the BirdCage. That license there says Sadie Joe on it, not Josephine Sarah Marcus. A lot of the working girls would use an alias to protect their families. Records show that Josephine and Sadie Joe were born on the same day in the same place, and they came to Tombstone at the same time. I think it is quite likely that they are the same person, and that her family is being protective of her reputation now. Now, this little door right behind me, or around me anyway, this was the door to our storage room in the 1880s. It's our document room now. You folks are welcome to come on in. Welcome to come on in. We have historical documents on the wall pertaining to the red light district. Photographs of some of the women who worked not only at the BirdCage but throughout our town. If you look at their names, you're going to see what I mean about aliases. We've got Cuckoo, Soapsud Sal, and Copperhead, just to name a few. On the wall, all the way to the right, you'll see a picture of Lizette, the flying nymph. She is in the middle row, right below China Mary. China Mary was the head of the Chinese district here in Tombstone. We had a very large Chinese community. They called it Hop Town. China Mary ran the place. If you wanted to go to one of the Chinese brothels, one of the opium dens, or even just hire a Chinese worker, you did have to talk to China Mary to do that. A couple of photos to the left of China Mary still in the top row. You're going to see pictures of Big Minnie Big John and her husband Joe. But Big Minnie and Joe were not the first people to own the BirdCage Theater in the 1880s. They were, however, the last. It was their decision to lock up with everything inside that allows us to be the historical attraction we are to this day. Back wall here has photographs of Tombstone in the 1880s. You'll see how large the town was. Again, Allen Street was 16 blocks long. But Tombstone had two big fires come through here. The first fire in 1881 destroyed 66 buildings downtown. A second fire in 1882. If you look, you'll see that in the devastation from that second fire in that large photo in the wood frame. That one destroyed 101 buildings downtown. Now, the BirdCage was able to survive both of those fires because we are made out of adobe brick and that doesn't burn. The rest of the town had to be rebuilt after one, or in some cases, both of those fires. This photograph of all those men right there, that is Tombstone's hook, ladder, and harness crew. Those folks are the firefighters from 1883 that made sure that the town didn't burn down the third time. Sometimes we get reports in our gift shop, which is what you do is go all the way behind me. That little girl room is the child underneath the stairs. Same little girl, I'm pretty sure she's just trying to play hide and seek with us. I had a guest who was taking video in the wine cellar area about 2 weeks ago. He swears he saw a little girl run past him. I couldn't find her again. Came twice during the day looking for her. I never saw her, but I'm pretty sure it was that little girl again. Yeah. I can see. Any questions, folks? All right. So whenever you're done down here, we can head upstairs. If you see anything in this area that you want to make a purchase, just grab it, take it upstairs, or hand it to me. I'll take it upstairs, rather, and you can make a purchase after the tour ends. You folks are welcome to head on up onto the stage whenever you're ready. Feel free to get a bunch of pictures up there as well.
Stand right here.
That's one of the bathtubs back there that they use for baby.
Right. So this entire floor here is our stage. It's not just that little bit out in front of the curtain. The curtain is set as far forward as possible to give us room for all of our displays, but you can see where the other curtains would come. Along that rope in the back, there would have been a black curtain. Beyond which were the dressing rooms, or were the men and women that performed here, BirdCage. There are photos of those men and women on this back wall here. Nola Forrest, Lotta Crabtree, Lily Langtree. This dandy-looking fellow right here. This is Richard Mansfield. Now, Richard Mansfield was a Shakespearean actor from London. He was, I'm pretty sure, the inspiration for Billy Zane's character in the movie Tombstone. He was also a suspect in the Whitechapel murders. If that sounds familiar, think Jack the Ripper. Somebody thought he was Jack the Ripper. Now this happened because a woman saw him performing the title role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde there in London. Said there's no way he was that good of an actor. He had to be a madman, quite possibly a murderer. She reported him to the authorities. They had to investigate before he was cleared to come perform here at the BirdCage. Over here in the back corner is our bathtub from that bathroom downstairs. The BirdCage had hot and cold running water. Gentleman could purchase a bath if he wanted. If he wanted to pay a little extra, he could have a lady give him that bath. Now there is no water hooked up to the tub anymore. There's no plug in the drain. But one morning one of our employees came in. She found wet footprints leading away from that tub. There's a spirit that I call Mr. Bathtub Man, who likes to hang out in this tub. He makes a sound, sounds like metallic drip, water dripping into the tub. I call him Mr. Bathtub Man because I had a guest on my tour get very excited about that metallic dripping sound. The guy kept yelling, "Do it again, Mr. Bathtub Man, Mr. Bathtub Man, do it again." And he kept doing it again, so I figured he must like the name. Now, if you hear that metallic dripping sound coming from up here, just say thank you, Mr. Bathtub Man. He really does like to be acknowledged for the effort. If you do acknowledge him, he's more than likely to keep doing it. Right in front of the bathtub there is our dentist chair. That came out of Dr. Morris's office. Dr. Morris practiced dentistry here in the 1880s. His family donated that chair after he passed away. Of all the things in this building, that's the one that scares me the most. It's not actually haunted, but that drill, it's operated with a little foot pedal. Display cabinet behind the dentist chair that has some things from our society women. These are the women that were married to the bankers, lawyers, doctors, that sort of thing. And as society women, they never would have come to the BirdCage. Their husbands, on the other hand, well, that's probably a different story. Some of the things in this cabinet belong to Mrs. Hugart. Mrs. Hugart came to Tombstone in the 1880s as a young bride. She married Dr. Hugart, lived to be 100 years old. Now, although Mrs. Hugart was never here in the 1880s, she is here now, keeping an eye on her things. Mrs. Hugart told the medium that came in that she would like her silver set downstairs to be polished. She would like her things in this cabinet more prominently displayed. I have no idea, or no control rather, over how those things are displayed. But those parasols in that cabinet did belong to Mrs. Hugart, and they are quite lovely. Next to the second display cabinet, we have a display coffin. This was used if you died in Tombstone and nobody recognized you. The mortuary would pack your body on ice. That's why it's got that rubberized lining. They would put you in the mortuary window and hope that somebody who knew you walked by and recognized you. That way your family or friends would give you a proper funeral. Otherwise, your body would be buried at one of those unknown or even an unmarked grave at Boot Hill or the city cemetery. If you died in Tombstone between 1881 and 1917, you very likely would have taken your final ride in the Black Mariah, the horse-drawn hearse sitting here. She was our town hearse for those 36 years, carried all but 6 bodies to Boot Hill in that time frame, including the McClourys after OK Corral gunfight. She also carried folks to the city cemetery in that time. Now, the Black Mariah was built in Rochester, New York by Cunningham Coach Works in 1881. They trimmed her in 24-karat gold and sterling silver. They made 8 of this model, and this one was bought by Watt and Tarbell Mortuary in 1881 for $8,000. They said she ate a cowboy for breakfast every day. Today, the Black Mariah is the last of those 8 known to exist. She is worth nearly $2 million, and that makes her one of Tombstone's most valuable antiques. She is also one of the sources of the paranormal activity that we get here in this building. Just because of all the death that she's seen. There's a spirit of a young man we call Josh. He likes to hang out up on the hearse. Josh, he can be heard moving around up there. He can be heard tapping sometimes. It sounds like fingernails tapping on the metal or the glass. Kind of a tick, tick, tick. And if Josh is really feeling playful, he makes that mortician's table up above the hearse move. Now, the way it's hanging, you'd think if it was going to move, it would swing from front to back. But if Josh is up there, he'll actually make it rock from side to side. We are a rather large crowd, and he tends to be a little shy, so I don't know if he'll make it move for us, but I can always ask. Hey, Joshy, I don't know if you noticed, but I do have some young girls on my tour tonight that they would love to say hello. Can you wiggle the table for them and say hi? Maybe just a little bit for us? Are you even up there, honey? That part about not being able to see him. I don't even know if he's up there. All right, well, maybe he'll make some noise for us a little bit later. Maybe. All right, folks, so I started the tour with Ed Schiflin, the founder of our town. I'm going to come full circle. We are ending with him as well. So you're hiding in the back. That's why he didn't say hi. These 5 photos here are of Ed Schiflin with the Schiflin Monument right there in the center. Now, Ed Schiflin was a very wealthy man. His first mine here in Tombstone brought out between 20 and 40 million $1880 worth of silver. He had partners. He didn't get it all to himself, but he was certainly quite wealthy. Although Ed Schiflin was a wealthy man, he was a prospector at heart. Went back up to Oregon to go prospecting for gold. He was found dead in his cabin. He had had a heart attack at the age of 49. Now, his family buried him in Oregon. Then a short time later, they found his will. In his will, he said he wanted to be buried right here in Tombstone near the site of his first mining camp. He wanted to be buried dressed in his prospecting clothes, and he wanted all of his gear buried with him. His family honored his wishes. They brought him to Tombstone. He's buried at Schiflin Monument, that beehive volcano-looking thing right there. That is an oversized mining claim marker. Ed Schiflin is buried underneath it. He's dressed as a prospector, and he has his canteen, pick and shovel buried with him. Any questions, folks? All right, so go ahead and make your way down to the lobby. Have a seat. Should have enough chairs for everybody if we sit together.
No.
Folks, go ahead and have a seat, please. All right. So I have devices set out around the room. They are called K2 meters. These devices detect the presence of an electromagnetic field. Now, if there are spirits around, they do produce that electromagnetic field. So if they are willing to talk to us, they can touch the lights. The lights will detect their energy. They will be able to, I've got a couple chairs right over here. If you want to have a seat there, I can pull out a couple more over here and grab them. They'll detect the presence of that electromagnetic energy, change the colors of the lights. If spirits are willing to talk to us, we can ask them questions. They can use these devices to light up as a yes reply to our yes and no question. Our modern devices, cell phones, things like that, do produce an electromagnetic field. Sometimes we get a lot of activity on these lights. Sometimes we don't get any. Doesn't mean that there's nobody here. Just means that whoever's here, not in the mood to talk to us. Don't take it personally, folks. People in the 1880s came here to see a show. So sometimes the spirits show up to see if we're going to do something to entertain them. So pay attention to your other senses. If you see shadows, feel cold spots, hear footsteps, smell alcohol, tobacco, flowers, those are good signs that somebody has to come and join us as well. If somebody says they heard something and you know it was you, just admit it so that we're not thinking it was something paranormal. Your chair squeaked, your stomach growled, that one's going to be me. We'll just be able to rule that out. But if you do see something or hear something, please say something so we can all share in that, because it's better to, have your sighting confirmed by somebody else who sees it while we're sitting in here, rather than wondering if it was your eyes playing tricks on you the whole time. All right, so there are trigger objects set out around the room as well. I've got Pharaoh cards over on the Pharaoh table, dice on the craps table, blackjack cards on the blackjack table, a vial of silver, a bullet, and a brothel token on that display case. I also have, hiding over here, a sticky cheeseburger for our ghost dog. Silver was an actor. He was part of the theater troupe that was performing here in the 1880s. His role in this play was to attack an actress at a certain point. Silver was a very good actor, apparently, just like Richard Mansfield. The drunken cowboy in the audience didn't realize that it was a part of the show. The dog was shot and killed to save the girl. The cowboy was arrested, hauled off to jail. He gave his horse to the theater troupe as payment for that dog. You feeling all right?
No.
Okay. You want to leave? Okay.
No, just.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay. So the dog was shot and killed. The cowboy arrested, gave his horse to the theater troupe. Then he didn't have to stay in jail. Now the dog is still here, seen as a small shadow, running around down here. We felt as a cold spot between your hips and the floor. I had a guest on my tour one night. She was looking for that dog, kept calling for Silver, offering him a cookie. Then she squealed because she felt a cold nose touch her leg. So just be careful what you wish for. Any questions? All right, I'm going to turn that light off upstairs because I forgot it. Be right back down. We'll cover up the go over those lights out rules. The rules for lights out are very simple. First rule is that you have to stay in your seat. It's a safety thing. We don't want people tripping and falling, hurting themselves or somebody else in the dark. Rule number 2 is also very simple. Be respectful. Everybody here paid $25 plus tax for their seat, so we want you to be respectful. Don't try to prank the other guests. If you throw something across the room and make noise and pretend it was a ghost, these infrared cameras here are going to catch you. Most importantly, don't try to scare the other guests. I think I told some of you already, one and only time I had to invite somebody to leave was because he thought it'd be hilarious to scare everyone when we went lights out. This was after my warning. Now, he waited till it was dark, let out a big roar, and then laughed when everybody screamed. He got asked to go. Any last minute questions? We'll get those lights off. All right, 30 minutes in the dark, folks. If you want to take pictures, you can, but turn off your flash. I allow flash photography only for the last 5 minutes. So before I hand it over to you to start asking questions, I just want to take a minute to invite the spirits to come join us on the gambling hall floor. I do have some extra chairs around the room if you'd like to have a seat. If you're willing to talk to us, if you have a story you want to tell, come touch the lights around the room. We'll do our best to ask the right questions to help you get your story told. Nobody here means you any harm or disrespect. We just want to get to know you a little bit better, and we hope that you're willing to get to know us better as well. Last thing I want to do, find my squeaky cheeseburger. And my last device. Put the device on the floor, call for the dog. Now Silver can be a little bit shy, so if you are a dog lover, join me in calling for him. Whistle for him, clap for him, call him by name. I'm gonna squeak a cheeseburger, and we'll see if we can get him to come on up. Here, doggy. Who's a good boy? You want a burger? Huh? You want a burger? You want a belly rub, baby? Come on, baby. Belly rub. Who's a good boy? I made the mistake of asking who wants a belly rub one night. That's not a good question to ask in a place like this. All right. So I have been talking for the last hour. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to hand it over to you. You can ask almost anything you like. We don't talk about demons or evil things because we don't want to bring anything bad into the building. Don't ask the spirits if they want you to leave unless you're actually willing to go if they say yes. And for my sake, please don't provoke the ghosts. Don't call them chicken if they don't come out. Don't challenge them to come fight you to get a reaction. You guys get to leave when the lights come on. I don't. Otherwise, feel free to ask anything you like. And if you want to ask me any questions, again, my name is Trish. Just say my name so I know you're talking to me, not the ghosts. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Now you're going to hear me chugging a little bit of water. Don't everybody go at once. That's my stomach growling. This is the water I just swallowed.
Yeah.
Here's some.
Do we have any gamblers with us this evening? I have a couple of games set out. We can play Pharaoh, Blackjack, or Craps. Come touch the light on the table you want to play at. We'll play together. I know you're out there. I can hear you breathing. Do we have any spirits that it would like? What was it? Do we have any spirits that would like some attention from us? If you do, make some noise, light up the lights. We'd love to be able to recognize you.
That one went off
To the
too.
left.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
That one.
We appreciate you making those lights change color for us. If you're willing to talk to us, can you light them up again? We're just passing through. Last night I had a lot of activity on these lights. There was at least one or two spirits here enamored with a very large gentleman, very tall mountain of a guy that was on my tour. And the spirits were just fascinated by that. 8 o'clock tour last night didn't get any activity. My 6:15 tonight didn't get any activity, so we've gotten a little bit tonight, so that's a good thing.
Maybe they were reminded of their boss, because he was so tall. But he wasn't a female. So.
Yeah. No, it was just, I mean, this guy was really, really tall and really, really large. I mean, he called himself a gentle giant.
Was it single?
No. But, yeah, the spirits, he was sitting over here first and the K2 meter in front of him went off, and then he moved to a different place and then the K2 meter over there went off. So, yeah, they definitely were interested in the sky last night.
I was sure if he was single, it was one of the girls.
And I don't think they care if he was single.
That's true.
Tapped on the shoulder a few years back when we were here,
Oh, very nice.
and she was a female.
Yeah.
That one's going off over there.
playing with the screen
Yeah,
last
he
time
was
they were
making
here.
the,
Cause it started swinging.
Oh, yeah, he likes to play with that,
the autopsy.
the mortician's table up there. He usually moves it. I do 6 tours a week. He usually moves it on at least 2 of them, but only, not all of them for sure. He's shy, so when we have larger groups, he's not as likely to move it. Is that somebody moving or is that upstairs?
I think it's upstairs.
Kind of sounded like it was upstairs. Well, we hear you up there. You're welcome to come on down to the gambling hall floor and join us. Do we have any cowboys or lawmen with us tonight? Anyone who remembers the OK Corral gunfight? Not sure what that noise was. Sounded like somebody dropped something. Are you a cowboy or a lawman? Can you make the noise again if you're a cowboy?
Oh, yeah, that's
Things going on pretty good there.
Pharaoh tape.
Yeah. Just a little bit. So you want to play Pharaoh, huh? Do you want to deal? If you want to deal Pharaoh cards, can you light it up again? Do you want me to deal? If there's somebody up on the stage, you are welcome to come down here and join us. anyone tonight who remembers Nellie Cashman, otherwise known as the Angel of the Camp? I hear she was an amazing woman. She took care of a lot of the miners, and when the Sacred Heart Catholic Church was being built, they couldn't get enough lumber. So she hitched up her wagon, she went out, and she got that lumber for them and brought it back to Tombstone. I don't think that was my stomach. Okay. Thank you for growling in solidarity with me. I appreciate it. I don't feel so alone now. That was me growling back. So you're just about halfway through the lights out. Now, if there are any spirits here trying to get our attention and we haven't acknowledged you yet, we're not ignoring you, I promise. It's just really difficult sometimes for us to know if that noise was us or you. So if you are here trying to get our attention, don't give up. Keep making those noises, touch the lights. We would love to hear from you. Again, nobody means you any harm or disrespect. We just want to get to know you. It's my stomach again. You guys gotta talk or you're gonna have to listen to that all night.
Come on out, let's play some cards.
There you go. Oh, see, it's going off. You wanna play Pharaoh, huh? Are there any whiskey drinkers here tonight? I think half my paying guests raise their hand.
Any entertainers here tonight?
Hush, Tommy. Is there anyone here who can play the piano for us? I'd love to hear the piano play. Is my stomach again? Yeah. See, once it starts, that's just the way it's gonna go.
Anybody at the card table in front of us?
It was earlier.
You wanna play blackjack? If you'd rather play poker, we can shuffle the cards again. Deal out a couple of hands of poker. joining us. There's somebody on the stairs behind me as well.
That's what I keep thinking.
You just wanna say hi.
Yeah, come on down, nobody's gonna hurt you.
Are you a female?
No, I'm still growling, but.
I wanna know if it's a female or a male. Are you a female?
Is there guys here for a good time?
That should have got a response.
You did, but it was
Oh,
quietly.
I fill it up.
It was quietly.
Oh, good
Oh, wow.
grief. Yeah, when I first started doing these ghost tours, I wondered why my stomach only decided to growl when it was lights out. And then I realized it's the only time it's quiet enough for everybody to hear it. That's why you guys gotta talk. See, and the spirits like that energy anyway. I'm not just saying that so that you can drown out my stomach growling. They really do appreciate that energy because the energy that we put out is a lot of the energy that they use to help manifest and make these things light up, so.
Oh, it's going off again over there. This
Oh,
one.
my God.
No, well,
The llama.
On the display case was.
Yeah, somebody's over there.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Are you the same person that was over here on the Pharaoh table earlier? If you are the same one, can you light it up again? If you are a different spirit, can you light it up to let us know? I hope it didn't scare you off. Well, there's probably someone nearby. If there's anybody up on the stairs that would like to come down and join us, we are inviting you to come on down here. We'd love to have you sit around the table with us. Stop growling. I'm guessing string cheese and a peanut butter cup was not a good idea for dinner. So my apologies to all of you. So whoever moved the crafts table here with us tonight. I don't want to give you any ideas, but I just want to know if you're here. Anybody with us who was here when the big fires came through Tombstone? Is there anyone with us tonight who came here to watch the show?
There's a little girl here that wants to play hide and seek. Hey Trish,
Mm-hmm.
what does Rose like to be called?
Susie Rose.
Susie Rose. Is Susie Rose here?
Folks, we are down to the last 4 minutes. If you want to get some flash photos, now's a good chance. Please just let everybody know if you're going to flash. It's going to be really bright. We've been sitting in the dark for 25 minutes, 26 minutes. That wasn't even a flash.
I'm gonna take one.
All right.
That was,
Flash. I'm gonna take one.
All right. Well, you folks are doing that. I'm going to pick up this cheeseburger. I don't want to accidentally step on it. Makes a horrible noise when I do. Don't want to scare anybody.
Take one. Flash.
Now, I do want to take a minute to say thank you for allowing us to join your space this evening. Those of you that joined us and came here on the gambling hall floor, we appreciate it. Whoever's at the faro table, over on the display case as well. The noises that we heard up on the stage, up in the cribs, we appreciate everyone who did join us tonight, even if we didn't recognize you by name. Do want to thank my paying guests as well. The tour doesn't happen if you guys don't show up. So I appreciate you sharing the time with me this evening. Hope that you had a good time, had some fun, learned something maybe. I appreciate you coming out tonight.
that one in that chair just went 2 bars a few minutes ago.
Oh, nice.
Didn't check.
Flash.
Of course, I don't put that dollar. sitting by somebody over there?
I invited them to come sit down.
You had 2 bars a few minutes ago.
Take a picture over there, maybe, there's like somebody sitting right beside me.
There were 2 bars.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Every once in a while, somebody will invite somebody to sit down next to them, and you can hear the chair creak, you know.
I'm about thinking he's about to move over somewhere.
We'll take a flash. There's no open seat there, so. There's none over there.
So in just a minute, I need to go turn those lights back on, folks. Now, I apologize in advance. They're on a breaker switch, not a dimmer switch, so they do come on very abruptly. I'm going to do my best to help you transition. I'm going to turn the display case on first. Not quite as bright as when the lights all come back on in here. Once the lights are on, we'll make our way out to the lobby. I'll get the doors open as soon as I do a head count. Make sure that everybody who is still here makes it out of the building okay.
Flash.
I will be right back, folks. Yeah, probably. I pulled my water bottle out. Something decided to tip over in there.
Okay, she's gone, come on out.
All right, play.
You still at the payroll table? I'm starting to think you had somebody sitting over there.
All right, folks.
I saw 2 bars.
Good words. I had one rented one of these from us one night, and it started going off. She's really busted.
Well,
I don't want it anymore.
4 years ago, 3 years ago, when we first came out here,
2018.
I had a female tapping on my right shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding y'all, female tapping on my right shoulder. But we were behind the stage in like a U shape when it had.
Yeah, that we used to do right up on the stage, but because of COVID, a lot of people didn't get to come here last year. And so our ghost tour, I mean, this is a Tuesday night, I've got 17 people. You know, that's in slow season.
And the lady that was doing it then, she had asked me, or asked everybody if we had somebody that had just recently passed away that was close to us.
Yeah,
And I did.
yeah.
I was like, wow.
All right, let's go ahead and make our way out to the lobby, folks.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's possible, but for another like 5 or 10 minutes, could I do like a quick spirit box in here or no spirit box?
The tour is only as long as the tour is.
Okay.
Sorry.
And how about the night investigations? How does that work?
You call, I'll give you a card.
Okay.
And then you can bring in whatever equipment
Okay.
you set up after our last ghost tour. And then you have, I think, 4 or 5 hours, whatever. So a certain number of people, certain number of hours. You can buy more time or more people. If you have fewer people, there's no discount.
Okay.
Do you know what the original morgue was? I know it was another.
Watt and Carbell, I believe, or you have a Doc Holiday's bar.
There was one for a while